It's all the rage in self-help land and in listicles about what successful people do. And of course, if only we can copy what they put in their water every morning at 5:52 a.m. and adopt their morning routine and take on their habits, then we too will be successful like them. But maybe not. Maybe we need to exercise a little bit more caution. My name is Chris Hargraves, and this is the Tips for Lawyers podcast. If you are just tuning in for the very first time, then welcome. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, say nice things, or really subscribe anywhere else that makes you feel happy so you can catch episodes as they're released, which is on a random schedule at the moment due to a few ups and downs and lefts and rights with the various things that I am getting on with in my life. We're talking about the concept of inadvertent mentoring, I guess I'd call it, but the headline here is Careful Who You Copy. And I guess more specifically, I want to talk about being careful what you copy, because it's a bit of a fiction to say that John appears successful. John gets to work at 6 a.m, therefore if I get to work at 6 a.m, I too will be successful. Nonetheless, this is what we do on a regular basis. We zoom in on a particular characteristic that someone who is supposedly successful has, and then we think, okay, well, if we just do what they do, we will see the results that they have seen. This is, at best, a partial truth. It is a partial truth because in one sense, we can certainly learn what habits might lead us towards success by trying things out in this way. But it can come horribly unstuck for two major reasons. The first reason is that the person we think is successful may not be as successful as we think they are. Consider that for a moment. Firstly, we need to have a bit of a discussion about what success actually is and whether that person is successful in the same way you view as being successful. Maybe they are professionally successful. Maybe they are a partner of a highly lucrative firm and they are bringing in a nice income. But what if their personal life is totally falling apart? What if they are a secret substance abuser of some kind? What if they have 4 ex-wives or ex-husbands because of their devotion to their career? Are they still as successful? And is copying them in any sort of significant way going to offer you, yes, the career success, but also the personal failure that perhaps they have that you don't otherwise know about? So we need to be very careful. We also need to be careful about copying the A game of someone who's been doing something for 30 years and then beating ourselves up when we can't immediately replicate that. I've been lawyering now for some significant amount of time, and one of the more common things I see young lawyers regularly frustrated about is how long things take them to get done. And they think, well, it just would have been easier if someone else had done it, because I felt like I was floundering, I didn't really know what I was doing, it didn't come smoothly, etc., etc. Partly that's just because you haven't done it very much, and while I can give you any number of hints and tricks to get things done faster, at the end of the day, you really won't be developing those intellectual muscles on that particular task until you've had a go at it a few times. It's like reading all the books in the world on building a house. Until you actually attempt to build the house, you don't really have a good feel for how it's going to go, and you're going to experience all sorts of things that were unpredictably difficult for you. So don't get too concerned about that. What we need to get concerned about, though, is who is it we're really copying? Who is it we're really copying? It's not as easy as it sounds to arrive at a series of habits, behaviors, actions, motivations, beliefs, which together will function to give you the kind of deep satisfaction and success that you probably want. a few classic examples. Copying the habits of wealthy people is an easy one. Copying the habits of people who run businesses, the Steve Jobs, the Richard Bransons of the world. Now, Steve Jobs is a classic, of course, because he was generally regarded as being a fairly awful human being. He was not a good guy to hang around with. He was acerbic and difficult and rude and all of the things that most people don't want to be, and yet we cherry pick these tiny little motivational things he said from time to time and go, wow. But I'm not sure that Steve Jobs is the type of character, the type of human being that I really want to be taking advice from when I look at his life holistically. So we need to be careful, and that includes me. You know very little about me, so you need to digest for yourself how good or not my advice is. So consider the character of the person that you are copying from a holistic perspective. Because if you adopt too many of their habits, take too much of their advice, listen to too many of their pearls of wisdom, and you start becoming like them, perhaps you will realize that becoming like them is not what you actually wanted in the first place. The next thing, of course, we need to be careful about is claiming the direction of someone else as our own. Now, if you are young-ish, I do not pretend for a moment that you, any more than anybody else, has completely nailed exactly what kind of person you want to be. But if you are going to try, at least, go through a process of self-improvement, which I think is worthwhile, then I think sometimes we get distracted by goals that are less important, and we miss the goals that are more important. And by that I mean we have a tendency to aim for things to achieve rather than who to become. Think about that for a sec. When you goal set, do you set by reference to income and achievements and tasks, or do you goal set by reference to character and personality? And if you are looking at who you're taking advice from and you're looking at what aspects of the advice to take or not, you need to consider both. I'm not saying goal setting for things is automatically bad, but what I'm saying is you need to encompass in it, what kind of person do I want to be? Not just what do I wish to achieve? Because sometimes heading down the what I wish to achieve path will in fact divert you away from what kind of person you want to become. So you need to consider both, and you need to, as best you can, assess whether those goals are capable of working in concert. Can you be, in fact, someone who works 90 hours a week towards their career, as well as a hugely involved parent and spouse with your family? Are those things compatible? Can you be both simultaneously extremely generous with your time while being extremely personally productive? Maybe you can. I know I'm implying answers there, but I'm not necessarily giving them to you. Maybe you can, in fact, get those things at the same time, but you need to consider them. And so that is really all I wanted to say. In a world where there is a lot of advice available, particularly from the internet, from people like me, we need to be careful who we listen to. And we need to be careful about what types of things we let become internalized as part of our day-to-day progress, and watch that they're not going to take us in a direction that we never really chose in the first place. That is it. That's all I had to say. I've enjoyed having you with me, and I hope you'll join me next time.